Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Music Rating, Ranking, and Reviewing podcast, what I like to call Music Meltdown, which we rate, rank, and review any artist's discography, songs, musical topics, really whatever comes to mind. This episode is going to be another part in the top 100 albums series. This one, we're going to be talking about albums 51 through 60. And with that being said, not much more to get into. I have Cammy above me to join me this time.
Yo.
And a couple in Roxy Music and Phil Collins. With that being said, let's just get right into this. At number 60, an album that I talked about previously on my own, it's going to be Goo by Sonic Youth. Really fun, just sort of hard-charging indie rock, alternative rock album from 1990, probably my album of the year at this point. I love this band, especially at this point in time, because I feel like this was when they were perfectly combining their sort of underground alternative roots with a bit more traditional song structure and just having some really killer rock tracks on it. I love on here Tunic. Cool Thing is a ton of fun. I think My Friend Goo is just really just silly and ton of fun. This record is just hard charging energy with some crazy, fun, distorted guitar riffs and just out there energy from the band. I think it's a total blast to listen to. And wow, it's definitely not the most traditional thing. I think just front to back, it's a blast. So that is why it is number 60 for me. Goo by Sonic Youth.
Yeah, Goo's pretty good. Kind of a it's both like, what do you call it? It's like a prime example of college rock. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the best thing about it is what's his name? His guitar riffs. Lee Ronaldo.
Yeah.
His guitar is good stuff. I think one of the best of that era.
He is really good. He is definitely one of the better ones. Thurston Moore is also just killer all across here. He's definitely my least favorite of the vocalists, but I mean, he adds a certain style that you can't deny.
Yeah.
And I mean, Kim Gordon, love her, one of my favorite vocalists ever.
Yeah,
kind
she's
of
great.
like if Chrissy Hynde or like Debbie Harry got totally into that underground scene and just kept going with the intense punk energy that she has. Love them.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving up from there, about as different of a record as I can get to, it's going to be Demon Days by the Gorillaz. Gorillaz were a band that a lot of people around me really loved whenever I was first getting into music. And I actually heard Plastic Beach first, but this is the record that connects with me the most. It has a bit of an alternative sort of indie pop, but really more so based in trip hop and electronica. Obviously, having Damon Albarn, formerly of Blur, pretty much dropping all of that rock band personality, or more so of hip hop infused trip hop. As I said, you got killer songs like Last Living Souls, Kids with Guns. El Manana is always been one of my favorites. I love November Has Come. But then you have the tracks that have a bit of that hip hop influence on something like Dirty Harry, Feel Good Inc. And you got a song like Dare. I also think at many points across it, it's just a very pretty record. It's a very gorgeous sounding album with the different soundscapes and really just electronic elements really just folding into one another. And maybe it's just because I got into Gorillaz firstly, but I've always kind of struggled with Damon Albarn as a rock singer. Whereas I think on here, he just fits in perfectly with these sort of pastoral sounds and these really out there musical themes. And I just think that it is a ton of fun to listen to. So yeah, number 59, Demon Days by Gorillaz.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually never haven't heard it in full before you sent me that list. And I knew the hits, obviously. Dirty Harry was a big one. Dare I actually never heard before. I was pleasantly surprised by that one.
Nice.
And obviously Feel Good Inc. Good shit. But I think some of the deep cuts are pretty good too. I mean, deep cuts kind of, not not really applicable to Gorillaz because every song's a hit. Everything they've ever made has pretty much been a hit. But stuff like Every Planet Reaches Dead, kind of underrated. All Alone's really good, obviously. Good cameo from Roots Manuva. And obviously the title track, Demon Days, is also very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, classic album for a reason. Definitely one of the best of the 2000s.
Nice, nice. One of the many 5-star albums I had in 2005. So
Oh yeah.
I think that year is just insane. Yeah, I have another one in this batch, actually.
Oh,
But before then, going back to the 90s once again, for the alt country scene, with one of the premier names in that being Sungold and their album Trace.
yeah.
This was the first album after the breakup of Uncle Tupelo, which, not sure if you know, that was the group that Jay Farrar and Jeff Tweedy of Volca had together. And this is Jay Farrar breaking off, keeping most of the country sound. And I just think that this record is a really great showcase of him as songwriter. Songwriter, I think he's a really good guitar player on here as well, and really a great singer, which is something that I don't think that he gets enough credit for. I love his vocals, probably one of my favorites of the country singers in general. But you have songs like Tear Stained Eye, which is incredible, 10-Second News. I really love Loose String, and Mystifies Me is a really great cover at the end. Really, what really sets it over the edge, though, is the musicality and the production of everything. I think it's very one to its own. It really is the premier album in terms of that late 90s alternative country scene. And for me, just one of the best country albums in general. So, Race by Sungold.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by this. I never even heard of these guys.
Thanks.
I actually, I thought they were this like the Mars Volta for a second because the word Volt's in there, which says a lot about me, I guess. But anyway, but oh yeah, this is fucking good stuff. I didn't know like the album would sound like this. I thought it'd be like, indie stuff, but it's like
Yeah.
very, very country and like kind of rootsy. Not rootsy, like, outlawish kind of country music.
Yeah, I
Like,
get what you're saying.
like the heavy acoustic and stuff.
Yeah,
Kind of dark acoustic too at some points.
sure.
But it's also kind of rockin' sounding. Like what's the track I like a lot? I think it's the third track. Tear Stained Eye.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
it's really good.
like with those heavy riffs, I was like, what? I thought this is a country album. And then it goes
Yeah.
into rock for a bit, and it goes back. It's kind of a revolving door, but it's pretty classy. I was pleasantly surprised. I never heard of it before or these guys, but I'm kind of intrigued by what they can do. So I'm gonna check them out some more, definitely.
Nice. Maybe check out some Uncle Tupelo stuff. That was
Hmm.
the more country band that he did beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know Tom has a video on them on his channel, so maybe check that out as a bit of a guide.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Now moving back from here, we're in 05 again, an album that I've talked about previously, and it's maybe one of my more contentious opinions, but oh well. It's going to be the album Extraordinary Machine by Fiona Apple.
Ooh, I love this one. This one was so good.
Nice. This is commonly regarded as her worst album too,
Oh man.
which is crazy because
If this is her worst, I think she'll be fine.
oh yeah, because I absolutely love her as I said in my Fiona Apple video a long while ago at this point. I think that she is one of the premier songwriters in modern day. I think vocally speaking, she has a great sort of sensuality and just sort of maturity in her vocal performances.
Oh yeah.
And I think that the songs on here are just beautiful. The first 3 songs on here, Extraordinary Machine, Get Him Back, and Oh Sailor, are my 3 favorite songs in the entire catalog. I love those songs so much. Better Version of Me is gorgeous. Tim's The Sick of My Head song just gets stuck in your head.
Hmm.
I think Parting Gifts is wonderful. I love Window. Just how she's saying that she had to break the window so that she wouldn't hurt the person that she's with. So good.
Yeah.
The chorus on Please, 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 just I love it. I think it closes out very strong with Waltz Better Than Fine. The only slight issue I have with the record is that I do think that it runs slightly long, but I think that there's enough stylistic variety and there's enough interesting within the music itself to really push it over the edge for me.
Hmm.
I do get why some people think that this is a lesser album. In many ways, it is kind of a continuation off of her first 2, but for me, I just think it's a real standout and another one of the best albums of 05 for me. Extraordinary Machine, Fiona Apple.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of, I think she might be crawling up there slowly as a favorite solo artist of mine because I never knew much about
Nice.
her outside of like what, barely a year ago, like 6 months ago when I heard Title. Actually, Title I heard recently, and I think I like
Nice.
that. I think I like that one better than Extraordinary Machine. That's probably not a contentious take at all, but you
Not
know.
really.
But Extraordinary, I was really surprised. I like her piano. I love her vocals. It's a very sonically pleasing record.
Yeah.
Like you hear it and you just kind of vibe to how good the production is, how good everyone's playing, the vocals, that kind of stuff. But this is her worst. Like I'm not sure what her best is, but her best must be fucking outstanding.
A lot of people think that her best is When the Pawn. That
Hmm.
was my fourth favorite though. So
Yeah.
you know me though, having to be fucking awful and stuff. So
But yeah, pretty kick-ass album.
nice, nice.
One of the best of that year for sure. I
Oh
agree.
yeah. Now the next album for me is going to be one that I don't think many people are going to care about. One that I absolutely love. And it's an album of a band that I've talked about. The video isn't out yet. It's going to be North Hills by Dawes.
Yeah, I was astounded by this. I never heard of them before. Like, which is, it's gonna be a theme here, but that's all right.
Oh shit.
Well, maybe not. Well, maybe not a theme going forward because, of who's coming up next. But either
Yeah.
way, fucking blew my mind. I was surprised how much I like this.
Nice. That's incredible. Very much another folky Americana record. I think Taylor Goldsmith, he is one of my favorite singers ever, especially on this record. He has that sort of wise, sort of older man, despite how young he is,
Oh yeah,
style on this.
his voice is incredible.
Absolutely. And I think just song wise, this album, they're just incredibly well written. Love is All I Am. When My Time Comes, God Rest My Soul, Take Me Out to the City. There is just, the songs on here are so good. And the production, it's just perfection. It's everything I want in this sort of rootsier album. It's Americana based sound. And holy shit, the playing on here is just sublime. Nobody's overdoing everything. It's all perfectly put together for the songs. And they're perfect little almost vignettes of what they should be. Just I don't know what to say about it because I just really think that it is exceptional.
Yeah,
The quote,
it's classic indie folk stuff, but it's not
yeah,
talked about, which is a shame. Like
yeah.
maybe it is, but it should be talked about even more.
I know
'Cause,
Jason loves them,
yeah,
so
I can see why this is great stuff. This
absolutely.
this actually this might be my favorite of the list you've sent me.
Oh shit,
Yeah.
that's surprising, especially considering there's like more like classic rock coming up like right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
So nice. I'm really glad that you were able to see into that one. I wasn't looking back at the list. I wasn't sure how you were going to feel about a lot of these because it doesn't scream out Cami cores. So
Yeah, I know what you mean. The Goo by Sonic Youth I was pretty into growing
nice.
up, like in my younger years. My younger years,
Okay,
I'm 23, but still. But that was probably my first exposure to that type of music, or at least one of the first ones.
sick. Well, moving up from there, finally getting away from this sort of indie weird zone of music. Talking about just a kick-ass glam rock record. One of two that I'm going to be talking about.
Yeah, really.
And the first one is The Slider by T-Rex.
Ooh, the slider first. Okay.
Oh yeah. You know me. We'll see whenever I get to the next one.
Yeah.
But this is one of the best albums of 72. One of the previous parts I've talked about Ziggy Stardust. I think this one is even better. Mark Bolan is just the epitome of everything that glam rock is.
Hmm.
He's such a showboat. He's so over the top in everything that he does. And he has that almost like really annoying kind of like high vocal, but it works for the music so well.
That's absolutely right.
Metal Guru is such a great opener. You have a track like Rock On, which is just rock excess as a whole, and it's awesome.
Hmm.
I like whenever it gets a little bit softer, a bit more boogie-esque on a track like Baby Boomerang. And
That's a
then the
great one.
second half, you start out with Telegram Sam, which is just it's so good. Rabbit Fighter, I love the chorus of that one, how he sings it. His performances are just exceptional, and the band here are just absolutely killer. Front to back, I think that this is some of the best glam that you're ever going to see. And it's really a shame that he wasn't able to continue on past where T-Rex ended. Because if he was able to put out an album that even touched the slider, I know he had many after this, but he was like starting to pick back up near the end of his career, it would have just been exceptional. So, the slider by T-Rex.
Yeah, this is probably a top 10 from 72.
Nice.
Probably pretty close to the top. Mark Bolan and crew, they're just so goofy. You kind of love them.
Yeah.
But they also have like clear musical skill, and they can elevate the kind of relative corniness that was glam rock. The only other person to do that was like Bowie and maybe probably Mott the Hoople.
Yeah.
Get to those later, and Alice Cooper. But yeah, this is just insane. The guitar's incredible, probably one of the best of all time. And Mark Bolan's kind of raspy, like weird sounding vocals just work so well. Yeah, like you said, Metal Guru, fantastic opener. Mystic Lady, a nice throwback to his earlier stuff. Kind of folky and whimsical and kind of weird, but with more of the edge that he had in 72. My favorite one's actually not Telegram. I'm sorry, Rabbit Fighter. That's an
Nice. Yeah, I love
awesome
that
song.
one. Oh yeah.
Metal Guru was the second favorite, but yeah, just a sick metal, not metal. I'm sorry, sick glam record, and definitely one of the best of the year. Electric Warrior might be a bit better. I'm not too sure, but I'll have to listen to them both again at the same time. Not at the same time, but you know,
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
yeah. But the slider is just majestic.
For sure. Now, let's talk about another glam record. Directly above it is Mott by Mott the Hoople.
Mm-hmm.
Mott the Hoople, one of the most criminally underrated rock bands just in general. Everybody knows All the Young Dudes. That's their worst album. I just think that on this record, they are sensational, just really knocking everything into forefront. The thing with Mott is they didn't start out as this sort of over the top glammy band. So whenever they went into that glam direction, they were able to take some of those more rootsy, more sort of blues rocky influences that was kind of on some of their earlier stuff and blended in brilliantly. Nick Rouse is a very meat and potatoes sort of rock guitar player, and it suits the style excellently. I think Ian Hunter is probably my pick for my favorite rock frontman in general. I think that he's got such a swagger, such a bravado to him, while still being very intellectual and sort of looking from the outside. And you just get it all across this album, all the way from Memphis, Analucci Boogie, Dragon Sister, just killer rock songs. You have a track like Ballad of Mott the Hoople, which is just sensational. I love Him for the Dudes. That was a track that really stood out this time. I think it closes really well with I Wish I Was Your Mother. Very Dylan influenced vocal delivery, and I like him more than Dylan, so that works for me. Just really, I love this album. I think it's essentially the apex of the style of music. Just blending everything that's great in these classic rock and roll with that great glammy inflection. Just really exceptional.
Yeah, I think I liked All the Young Dudes more, which I'm surprised you think it's the worst album. And if that's the worst, I'm surprised. Not surprised. I'm curious on what their best is, because if that's their worst, they must have a lot of good stuff. I know Mott is actually pretty solid, and obviously the Hoople's a classy record as well. But aside from those three, I don't know much about the other ones.
The
But
earlier ones are cool.
yeah,
They're really interesting.
but yeah, this is good stuff. A bit different than what I was expecting. I kind of I kind of have like the Bowie inspired Mott the Hoople in mind all the time, but this album's pretty kick-ass. Definitely one I'm gonna put on again in the near future.
Okay. Moving up from there, going into the new wave and sort of like 70s style of things, talking about Parallel Lines by Blondie. I've gone on record before saying this is my favorite power pop album. which definitely got some backlash. But
Really?
I, yeah,
Wow.
to be fair, I don't think there's a couple of things I would probably put ahead of it now, but it's still easily like top five. I think that the thing that really pushes us over the edge is Blondie were a group that started out a little bit punky, a little bit sort of raw, just sort of throwing in a bunch of energy. On this record, they've mellowed out a bit, but you still have a bit of that punk edge blending in with the new wave styles of the time. But you still have like a great power pop sense to everything with just these hard rocking, incredibly hooky tracks. And that's evidently shown on the biggest hit here, One Way or Another, which everybody knows that song. Everybody loves that song. How could you not? But then you got stuff like Pretty Baby, which is really fun, really beautiful. Picture This is so great. 11:59 is a bunch of fun. My favorite track on here is Will Anything Happen, which is where they kind of let loose a bit, showcase more of that punk style, and I think Debbie Harry just absolutely kills it. Fiend Hunter is my favorite rock frontman. Debbie Harry is my favorite rock front woman. Just she kills everything that she does, and I love her. Heart of Glass, borderline disco single, and it is so good. A perfectly constructed pop song, in my opinion. And I think it closes really well with Just Go Away. For me, I just don't see anything wrong with this record at all. Say what you want about Blondie as a band, they certainly have their highs and lows even within the classic period. But to me, this record is pretty undeniable. So, parallel lines.
Yeah, I think this album's pretty good. It's not one of my favorites. It kind of took me a couple times to get into it because I always say like the hits from it, One Way or Another's badass. That's just a great song. Like no matter how many times you hear it in movies or on the radio, it's like you can't really get tired of it. I mean, classic rock radio makes you try. They really do make you try, but no matter how many times they play it, I'm still into it. Even like the opening track's pretty good. I like Hang on the Telephone. Kind of a weird opener considering the next track, but it kind of goes hard. Pretty Baby's great. That is a great deep cut. I kind of wish I heard it more often. And of course, you got the other banger, Heart of Glass. Another song they will ram down your throat no matter how many times you've heard it, but it's still great. I could never really get into Blondie because like I don't know. I wasn't
Okay.
real. I was never into that weird late 70s new wave sound for a while. And now I'm kind of am into it after listening to like, Talking Heads and stuff like that. I've kind of grown to appreciate it more. So I might give Blondie another shot. But yeah, Parallel Lines is pretty good. I think it's like slightly overrated, but it's still like pretty good.
Fair enough. It
It's like
is
a
what
it's like a 4 star for me, but like a low 4 star.
I get you. I have
Yeah.
records like that. For example, my favorite Talking Heads record, but anyway, heels for this record, just missing out on my top 50 albums in general, is Confessions of a Pop Group by the Style Council. I know that you, whenever we did Roxy Music, were really into Avalon, that Sophistopop album. To me, this is the apex of Sophistopop as a whole. This group, led by Paul Weller, formerly of The Jam, is just a perfect pop band. Big blue eyed soul influence, but still just has this great sort of smooth pop sensibility to it, almost akin to a group like Sade in that sense. And I just think that the songs on here are so amazing. It's a very deep sea, Changing of the Guard. I love the 10-minute The Gardener of Eden. It's almost progressive at points in that. But there's still just like incredible pop melodies with stuff like Why I Went Away, How She Threw It All Away, and I Was a Dull Dad Story Boy. It's like so silly. My favorite on here is Confessions 1, 2, and 3, which is just like it's just like a smoother, sort of swingy track where you just have the vocalist just nonchalantly giving these excellent performances. And it closes so good on Confessions of a Pop Group, 9.5 minutes of just pure pop bliss. Now, for this album being nearly an hour long, there isn't a single point in it which I want to turn it off. I think it's just really amazing, to be honest with you. It is one of my favorite pop records in general. And yeah, I think that it's just knocked me off my feet. I'll listen to it again and I've heard it 5 times. So, Confessions of a Pop Group by the Style Counts.
Okay. I don't know if I'm as into it as you are. I definitely liked it. It had an interesting sound, but like it was kind of a vibe at the same time. It wasn't too strange. I did like the opening track a lot. That kind of eased me into it.
Yeah,
I might have to give it a couple more chances, but yeah, I do like it. I'm not sure if it's like one of the best ever, but maybe another listen will get me into it. It's probably one
fair.
it's gonna be one I'll probably appreciate more in time.
That's fair. It's definitely a sound where I just really love the sound of the album in general, and I just feel myself drifting away into it, which is something
Yeah,
that I cherish a lot. So
I think it's because I kind of wasn't in the mood to hear it at first. Like
that's
I
fair.
I came off of another record that was a bit more what do you call it, like energetic going,
Yeah,
but there's still a good sound.
yeah. Just finished up like the Ramones self-titled, and you're like, what am I gonna hear after this? Yeah,
No,
let's go to the
actually,
Style Council.
actually, it was "Can't Slow Down" by Lionel Richie that I heard before that. That I heard before that Confessions of a Pop Group one.
I think that's actually the record that I listened to by him.
That's
And
it's not bad. It's a good pop record.
it's no Billy Ocean.
Yeah, nothing is.
That is actually the record that I heard. I gave it 3.5 stars.
Yeah,
So
I actually like that. I actually like that Lionel Richie record more than that one Billy Ocean record I heard.
that
By like
that's
a
a
lot.
crime.
I like a lot actually.
That's a crime.
Yeah, I mean Billy Ocean's got the better hit, but I think Lionel Richie's got the better album. Why are we talking about this? Why are we talking about these guys?
So you're making me listen to fucking Billy Ocean,
We'll get through it
bastard.
one day. It's gonna happen.
One day. The sad thing is, I'll tell you after this, that's not even the worst artist I have to listen to via that now.
I I can't say I'm surprised, but I
All right.
wonder who's worse.
And number 51, the album that unfortunately is just going to miss my top 50 albums of all time. Well, not all time. This list will probably change tomorrow. But, anyways, it's going to be my favorite album of 1972, Sail Away by Randy Newman. I absolutely love this record. I think that Randy Newman is a brilliant lyricist, and this is during his early sort of orchestral, very arranged pop music. And something about Randy Newman that you don't get on a lot of other artists is he has a great sense of humor to him that you just simply won't get. You have a track like Simon Smith and the Amazing Dancing Bear. You have something like Memo to My Son. But then you have this like really sleazy, almost rock song that you can leave your hat on near the end, the Three Dog Night Ruin. But Randy Newman is great at it. The title track, Sail Away, is just gorgeous. It's him essentially embodying the character of, I think it's like a slave trader trying to get people from another country to go over to the US with him
Hmm.
so that he can get rid of them. And it's just really interesting.
Yeah, it feels like a parody that song like a parody of what do you call it, like Americana, best country in the world type music
Yeah,
that was pretty popular in the late 20th century, especially early 2000s. This felt like a parody of that.
absolutely. And then there's really just beautiful stuff like Dayton, Ohio, 1903. I think Lonely at the Top is just really, really fun. Last night I had a dream, just like moves in such a unique way, and I think that it's wonderful. And then God's Song is a really crushing closer, which is a good way to describe this record. It's really heavy in a lot of ways, but it never feels, say,
Hmm.
because you have these amazing orchestral arrangements that are just contrasted with Newman's almost almost in top, almost crushing like dark lyricism that you just don't get. And his
Hmm.
vocals are the thing that really sells it because he's not a good singer, really at all, but
Eh,
he fits the music perfectly. And it's hard to ignore that. So
yeah, it's not hard to see why every movie studio ever had to make music for them.
yeah. I did kind of get the Disney quality to it on this listen, but I mean, hey,
It felt like
Disney can be good.
a more satirical, like more cynical version of Disney, especially the opening track "Sail Away."
Absolutely. So yeah,
Yeah, I feel like he could be like considered an Elton John type songwriter, where like his songwriting is like maybe not on everything, but at least from this album, because I haven't heard a lot of Randy Newman. I knew the big one, "You Got a Friend in Me,"
yeah.
and I wrote
The
him off
Toy
as like
Story
a
song.
yeah, exactly. I wrote him off as like a novelty songwriter, which was a pretty awful take, but I'm rescinding that because if he's normally this good, I'm very impressed.
This is his best for me, but he's got plenty of other really strong stuff too.
Yeah, this is definitely
So
one of my biggest surprises. I thought Randy Newman would be like you know, not my thing, but I was really
yeah.
into it.
Yeah, definitely check out his Good Old Boys record. That's probably
Yeah,
my second favorite of his.
yeah, I heard that one's not bad too.
Nice. That being said, that was the next batch of records, and definitely a unique group. Some really weird stuff mixed with at the top some like heavy rock classics. So
Yeah.
and you got Randy Newman to top it all off. So the king. That being said, I really hope that you enjoyed everything. Stay tuned. Next part, we're going to be having an appearance from some more well-known and more controversial artists. So,
Oh yeah, that'll be
whoa.
exciting.
Oh yeah. All right. You'll have a great one.